Hi, I'm Mark, and this is my 1966 V-Tail Bonanza.
V-Tail Bonanzas are an iconic aircraft that first went into production in 1947, and over 10,000 of the aircraft were built until production ended in 1982. The Bonanza had the unfortunate nickname of the Doctor Killer due to many high-profile accidents, mostly attributed to pilot error, including the day the music died when Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly were killed in a crash in 1959. This particular airplane has had many upgrades, including all of the avionics and the engine. So let's talk to Mark, learn more about his Bonanza, and then take it up in the air.
I grew up in San Antonio. Dad was in the Air Force, and of course, living back in San Antonio in the 60s, you couldn't walk out into your backyard without some jet screaming overhead or a formation of B-52s, and so I found myself as a kid just always looking up in the sky, and somewhere inside of me, I just knew I wanted to fly, felt like I could fly. I was one of those kids that had dreams, you just stick out your arms and take off. Couldn't put nickels together to go take aviation lessons. Finally, sitting at my desk after I graduated, I kept hearing planes take off. Hey, I'll call them up. Made a call to the FBO, $30. Thought, man, that'll get me a fast lap around the airport, just get a tour. They had 152 aerobats out there. That got me my first flight. I got through solo with them and had a young lady in my life. Thought, weigh that out. Sean of the airplane. It didn't take me long to decide on Sean. Fast forward, business was such that some of my construction sites were out of state, and it was either hop on a commercial flight after driving to Houston flying, or go back into aviation and fly myself. So did that for a number of years. Found a friend who had an RV-9, talked him into buying that. So flew that for about a year and a half. Wonderful experience. But that word experimental on the back roll bar made my wife a little nervous. So she was one that said, go out and find a certified aircraft. In my mind, I wanted something as nimble, as fast, but comfortable enough to carry 4 people. So that's where I wound up in the Bonanza. If you're familiar with the aviation world or flying antique aircrafts, this is a 1966 Bonanza. Unlike buying a car where you just say, I'll take package A, B, or C, aircraft of this vintage are a goulash of props and lighting and panels. So I found this one in Arkansas, had a buddy fly me up there, took a look at it, flew it. It seemed to fit my bill. And so I had my mechanic fly up there, do a pre-buy. We went up there a week later and took it home. The Bonanza has a lot of features. I wanted something with retractable gear to help slick up the airplane. It's built like a tank, but flies like a sports car. It's just a really sturdy aircraft, a joy to fly. While they're nimble, they're a very stable platform up in the air. And while I have no need to fly up into flight levels, you can comfortably fly up in the teens. Cruise speed, I'll average somewhere around 160 knots true airspeed. There are days like yesterday, you pick up a nice tailwind, you're finding yourself over 200 knots. So it's a lot of fun. My fuel burn, I run lean of peak. You've got, with the setup we've got on the dash, you can run rich of peak or lean of peak. There's been a lot of talk about that, but really with today's avionics, you can safely fly lean of peak. It's healthy for the engine. Bonanza Society talks about that backwards and forwards, but we'll flight plan for 160 knots. Typically, I'm flying somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 feet. It's wind that we really choose that for, or weather. It is a joy to fly, but you just have to always have a reserve setting back for the what ifs. So I haven't really found any negatives. Thought about it long enough in what I wanted to fly that I wouldn't have second guesses behind. So far, a year and a half into ownership, I'm absolutely happy. This panel was 1966 with a few additions. It had a nice autopilot, had the 430 watts on board, but otherwise it was the wood grain panel like you'd find in any Bonanza. If I'm going to do a lot of instrument flying, especially with my wife or others on board, they look up here and see a sea of round gauges. Oh my gosh, what is that? But with everybody carrying an iPad or an iPod or an iPhone or an iWatch, this becomes really familiar for them. From the safety aspect, you've got synthetic vision, terrain, even wires out there, power wires, that sort of thing. You've got backup synthetic vision. You've got GPS positioning on here, and you've got autopilot that's all digital, all redundant. It does away with vacuum pumps. So as long as you've got electrical power flowing with a backup alternator, even with the advent of ForeFlight, synthetic vision on board there, to me it just made a safer platform to fly. So lots of fun too. As you start loading equipment in here, these can get really tail heavy. The CGs move backwards. So when we pulled this panel out, 63 pounds worth of wire, components, that sort of thing. We had a few components behind the rear bulkhead. All of that was pulled out. Our CG moved forward by a couple of inches, and 63 pounds worth of old wire got pulled out. So now everything behind the dash, absolutely new. So it helped out in our weight savings, moving our CGs forward, making for a safer panel. Through our local EAA group, that's Experimental Aircraft Association, they take in all aircraft. But we have a program called Young Eagles. So we fly kids from 8 to 17 years old, absolutely free of charge. And it's to try to get this generation involved in aviation. We've also been involved with a group called Viking Flights, similar to the Young Eagles program. They take special needs kids with MS, MD, that sort of thing, take them up flying and actually give them a yoke and let them fly for a few minutes, obviously with us overseeing things, but give them the opportunity to do something otherwise they may never do in life. I just signed up for Pilots for Patients in looking into angel flights. I just feel like this gift I ought to be able to give back to other folks. We're with AOPA and EAA. I think everybody ought to be a part of a bigger group. But other than that, let's get in and go fly.
Mark pulled the airplane out and we were ready to go fly.
I mean, just the panel on this thing, I've never seen anything like it. I mean...
It's more than I deserve.
I mean, you would think you're flying a Gulfstream or something with all this.
Yeah.
Visibility 10. Sky condition overcast 2004.
Winds left and 340 at 7 knots. Ultimate setting is 3024. 3024, thank you.
Altimeter 3024.
Now, how do you like the touch screens? I mean, I've heard some people have a problem with them if it's really bumpy trying to hit everything.
You know, that was one of my first concerns. Of course,
terrain system not available.
You can grab the side of it and do whatever, but it's still got concentric knobs.
Okay.
So that it doesn't have to all be touchscreen.
Right.
It can still be knob operated. You know, you rotate the outside one to run between all the fields.
Right.
Inside one to adjust the numbers once you've reached a field. So, you know, it's pretty intuitive. Part of the reason I chose this aircraft is, as heavy as it is, obviously still flies at a nice cruise speed, but
yeah,
it'll take a lot of that without getting goofy.
Yeah.
You know, these things have been called V-Tail doctor killers.
Yeah.
And I said, no, they got that wrong. They're V-Tails that the doctors killed.
Right. Well, I mean...
we say that jokingly, but...
Well, it's not the airplane's fault. It's the fact that, you know, doctors would buy the airplane and then go fly like twice a year and then take their family up and go fly, and you wonder what happens.
Well, and that's true of anybody.
Yeah.
They were the ones that could afford the aircraft back in the day. And you'd get off after a 12, 14-hour shift.
Right.
Go fly to your beach house or whatever, get in some inclement weather.
Yeah.
Get in a hurry to get down, and you just get above your cruising speed, get it up into the yellow or red arc.
Yeah.
And start tearing off empennage.
Yeah.
So. We'll just be efficient, get through a checklist here, make sure all's good. Got plenty of fuel in here. Gauges are all good. Flight control's free and correct. All right. Unless you see anything wrong, we're going.
No.
I don't mind taking off as long as we're up in the 80s here. There's nothing absolutely critical. Lufkin traffic, Bonanza 258 Tango Charlie. Departing 3-4, we'll be turning out to the east. Lufkin.
You look clear right?
Clear right. We're good down the other end. They're in the pattern somewhere. I'll take you out over Lake Sam Rayburn. I don't know if you've ever been out that way.
I think I might have once upon a time. I'm not sure.
All right, we're looking for 71 for rotate speed, oil pressure. Everything's, now we do reach the red line there for just a second. I don't ever worry too hard about that because we roll the prop right back. Positive rate, gear goes up. We roll back to 25. Everything will start dropping.
So you just you normally keep the prop at 25 and then just let the manifold pressure come back on its own as you climb out?
As you climb out, unless we reach cruising altitude, then we'll pull everything back to 23 square.
Right. So that 23 squared, what kind of power, what kind of fuel or speed does that normally get you to airspeed?
You know, it'll just kind of depend on where we're wanting to go. Hold on a second, I'm going to get our nav set up here.
To go.
Yeah, we'll just leave things off.
Well, it's got an annunciator there?
Yeah. It'll tell you everything in the headsets. We'll level off. You know, at the lower altitudes, the fuel burn's going to still be up there. We'll get the prop pulled back here and manifold pressure. But we'll still cruise at 150.
Yeah.
152 Golf, turning final, 3-4, left in traffic.
It probably, likes about 7,000 or 8,000 feet for its most efficient?
It really does. Somewhere between 6 and 10 is really where we want to be. So the only negative about flying in East Texas, you can look out here and see how many pine trees there are.
Yeah, not a whole lot of...
Brother, you have an engine out, you better pick a pasture.
Yeah.
So, here again, one of the things I really loved about the Bonanza is its undercarriage is really stable. It's beefy. I've flown this one in and out of Gaston's up in Arkansas. We've got a local place over here, Critters Lodge. Wonderful little grass strip.
Altitude 200 to go.
This plane takes it like a champ.
Yeah.
So, really a lot of fun. We got a bumpier day than I thought.
Kind of see like the scallop bottom of that layer.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're getting. So, that was the other thing I really liked about this aircraft is, man, you can put it on a dime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the little RV. I did that the other day with a friend.
5-2,
And
what's that?
just did some steep
Oh, right,
turns.
yeah.
And of course, you know, when you're in that steep turn and you're pulling things back, you
feel it.
got to get that sinking feeling in your stomach.
Yeah.
You're like, oh crap.
Yeah, it's Bonanzas are for the money. I think they're a pretty good airplane. I mean, you know, well, the new ones are ridiculous, but
Oh yeah.
$1 million, but you know, I mean, you know, you get the 60s or 70s model, and they're pretty fast and capable, and
You know, the
not too expensive.
you get back too late, 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
electric props,
Yeah.
smaller engines, that sort of thing. Late 50s aren't bad. To me, the sweet spot was early to mid 60s, S models, up through the Vs, even into maybe the As or Bs.
Yeah.
Then the CGs started moving back. You really needed to move into one of the A36 models to be in a capable platform. Bucket traffic, Bonanza 258 Tango Charlie, 7 miles to the northeast inbound, downwind 34, Lufkin.
Lufkin traffic, 5-2 Golf is entering runway 74. Takeoff will remain in a pattern. Lufkin traffic.
Lufkin traffic, Bonanza 8 Tango Charlie, downwind 34, Lufkin. All right, gear coming down. The only thing I wish this plane had was 3 greens, but this is your nose gear. You've got the indicator in the floor there, which is just kind of a backup.
Yep.
Tells you your mains are down.
So this is just for the nose gear?
Well, yeah, you got gear down, but its sensor is on the nose.
Yeah.
Lufkin traffic, Bonanza 8 Tango Charlie, left base 34, full stop, Lufkin. The only thing I wished for here is that we were large enough to be towered. We get a lot of crop dusters, everything else in here. And a lot of folks coming in, no rad.
Yeah.
So, Lufkin traffic, Bonanza 8 Tango Charlie, short final, 3-4, full stop, Lufkin.
Yeah, I don't know how they, I guess it's probably a number of operations per day they gotta.
Yeah. Like TxDOT. Well, there haven't been enough people died here to put an overpass in. Prop going in. No cows on the runway. All good.
Speed.
She doesn't like it when we come in near stall.
Airspeed.
Left traffic, 52 Golf, turning left downwind, runway 7.
All right, nice and smooth.
Thank you, sir.
Airspeed.
She doesn't like that.
No, she doesn't. But she'll get your attention.
Yeah.
It was a nice flight, and then back to Mark's hangar.
Hey, Mark.
Hey,
Thanks, sir.
Bobby, thanks a lot for coming out today.
No, it was a pleasure. It's the first time being able to film one of these Bonanzas, and I've always loved them, so it's a good airplane.
All right, thanks much.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Well, thank you for watching another episode of Flying Doodles. It's pretty awesome being able to fly in the Bonanza. So please click like and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. And patreon.com/flyingdoodles. That's how we kind of fund this whole thing. And if you want me to come fly in your airplane and interview you about it, send me an email down below. There's a link. And I'm kind of planning out my route because I'm going to be, well, maybe going to buy like some old crappy RV trailer. And make a link on that too. I don't know. Let me know. And I'm going to travel around the States for a couple months, going to random airports and filming people. So email me and let me know where you are and all that, and if I can kind of plan out a route to get the most people, I will do that. So let's do it.